Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. In comics, there is a fine line to draw as well, because comic heroines need to look like they can throw a punch, still melt hearts, but not give hard attacks. Okay, back in time. I was quite surprised to find that in the 40s they drew Wonder Woman quite stocky, but still feminine though, right? She-Hulk was basically just a normal looking tall woman instead of what the story probably called for. Grab a pencil, let's look at the variables that range from swing to run away. The degree of hourglass, how thin a waist is compared to the shoulders and hips. Then how big muscles are, which, should go down there. Not just the size of the muscle, but also the cut, or how dry the muscles look. Used very effectively in this Callisto character from X-Men, who is always purposely drawn to not be attractive by having super low body fat. And that leads us to the last variable. She also never is drawn with a beautiful feminine face. So let's pull up a few examples. This John Romita Jr. has a very nice hourglass shape. Muscles, huge, but not that cut. Just a few nicely chosen accents. Face is not really shown that much, probably in the middle somewhere. So predominantly on top, deserving those looks. This is an interesting one as well. Very clear hourglass. Muscles not that big, but super cut, and one of those classic 90s faces. So should be on top, but for me personally the cut ruins it to be kind of a very attractive drawing. Just my taste. Same here, not really an hourglass. If you see this shape here, shoulders super wide, quite muscular, super cut though in that biceps, and kind of a classic face. Looks like a strong She-Hulk, but not that attractive in my opinion. Sorry, John Byrne. He did draw her way more attractive in other drawings though. This is an interesting one by Arthur Adams. Very clear hourglass shape with that tiny waist. Huge Arnold Schwarzenegger biceps. That arm is quite cut as well. Legs not as much. But a super cute round face, which saves it in my opinion. Or maybe that's just this bonus point here. Okay, next, hourglass, quite big muscles, not that cut, cute face. All in all, probably in the top half. Remember Arthur Adams? Here he goes the opposite. No hourglass, huge muscles, super cut. There's only the cute face to counter it, but this is not a pin-up. This is a cover to sell the story where she's beating up a big guy. So good reasons to go all out in that scary area. How about that one? Boom, 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 boom. Enough said. Moving on. But for me, what works really well is the art of Frank Cho, who loves drawing Wonder Woman and all the other voluptuous characters. Very exaggerated hourglass shapes, usually huge bazookas as well, but then carefully chosen thin lines to accentuate the muscles. And because they're so thin compared to the outline, they don't take away from the attractiveness of the character. And that was the topic of this month's challenge. I sent out this to the participants. Make a spoof of the Uma Thurman Pulp Fiction cover with a strong superwoman. I'll go through all the participants later, but let's do mine first. Just trying to get the underlying structure of that Uma Thurman pose here, because I'm going to make my character much more muscular. So I need not just to put stuff on, but have the correct stick figure underneath. And it's quite a tricky angle to show the legs in a realistic way. It took a few tries, and starting from scratch, I was trying to see if I can maybe open the legs to get some more curves in there, but didn't really look good. So went back to the original one. Again, almost starting from zero. And then I want to do bare feet, so trusty old Google image search helped me out here. Just typing in woman lying on her stomach with crossed legs, I think. Right, now to Frank Cho it up and get some more reference there. Yeah, the interlocking feet, quite tricky as well, but worked out. Right, for the face, don't really want to make it a Frank Cho face. So I went back into my old videos and watched the Michael Turner video again, where I analyzed what makes his women look beautiful. And then just from memory, kind of tried to give it that Michael Turner eye shape and lips. And it wasn't that intentional, but making the nose quite round and high makes it really look like a She-Hulk. Little happy accident there. Because yep, this is my She-Hulk Pulp Fiction version. Stay tuned for what she's holding in her fingers there. Okay, inky time. I am gonna try that super thick outline that Frank Cho uses, and then the thin muscle lines, making sure that when the lines go inside of the body, they become very thin. Even when it's a continuation of the thick outline. So quite a particular style. All right, color time. Flats. Picking the color from this one here. Then the rest of the Pulp Fiction cover. Pretty easy to recreate because it's so simple. This is what sells it. That overlay of an old Pulp Fiction book. Yeah, boy, looking good. And here we boom are. Truth or dare. And I have an IOU. I really like how those feet turned out. Probably the hardest part of the drawing, but looks the best in the end. And after I was finished, I found this one online. Turns out my idea wasn't that original. What is she eating? Celery? Yeah. This artist stuck a bit closer to the Uma Thurman pose. Looks cool though. Not a big fan of that hair on top, but that's definitely a professional piece. Okay, on to the participants of that challenge. Showing them in the order I got them. Joaquin was the first entry, and I love this Batgirl. Great sharp angle anatomy, good two-tone color as well. My only advice would be to outline the batarang and the playing card, just because all the rest has an outline as well. But that hair and the bold choice with the foot angle is just perfection. And Moosey Stool with a nice summary tableau, so charming as always. I noticed he didn't go for his usual diagonal shadow on this, which I love as part of his style. And then he sent me this as well. A cute She-Hulk who wouldn't hurt a fly. Nice. And boom! Lizard Guy's sultry entrance. Fun fact, he wrote me that the Scream symbiote from the Venom comics was his first fictional crush. Fitting for the Lizard Guy. And if I may put on my art editor hat for this as well, I would just ask to fill up the space a bit more with the fonts, like this. The whole concept is about the hair, and the hair looks awesome. So good job. Alright, then Otis with a foxy thing. Just a sketch, but looks promising. Love that round calf, and the way the legs also look like an animal, with the long ankles and the sharp long toes. Yeah. Then check out Paul's entry, hitting it out of the park again. He mentioned it was his first time to draw comic book cats and leather. Looks great though. There's many ways to make leather look like leather. From simple sharp blacks on gray to crackles filled with shading and white. And Paul's here works super well as well with the 4 degrees from black to white. Check out the attention to detail even on the shadows here. Awesome. Then Costas with a stern Domino. I love the super bright colors. Nathan Summers directed this puppy, and that means Cable directed his girlfriend. Same advice here though, to fill up the empty spaces a bit more, or add some more visual info with the overlay. There, psychedelic underground comic. Then already with a confident Wonder Woman. Nice to add all the background in a kind of a Mona Lisa way. Those legs and feet look fantastic. Those buttons of steel. Let me just try to fix the hand while staying in his angular style. Remember, there's no shame in looking at the reference, especially for something like this. But I feel you though, as you can see here. Hands are hard. ZZ the Dark, very busy with a double entry. Kaboom! Really cool manga vibes on these. This dang guy is my favorite one though, because of those legs. I remember struggling with these lines and looking at this Yeah, very good placement of the shapes and lines. Also super good at filling up all the spaces on both of these. And hey, I just noticed this is a vampire lying on its victim. Great colors. And hey, anything Chris Claremont has a hand in is worth a read. Good stuff. And Lewis with Miss Marvel. Awesome. Look at how good his perspective is on the shoes. Lewis's art is always so interesting to me. It looks loose and playful, but I think this guy is very aware of all of his choices. The bullseye in the sewer, so good. And the placement of the text on this is perfect. All I change is just add a little bit more contrast in the figure to make it pop a bit more. Here, what do you think? This is also a major cute style from Lazarus. Spider-Gwen with a lollipop, gotta love it. He added that glossy effect to get a magazine cover feeling. And again, same advice on the font, filling the space a bit more, the theme of today. Which means same here for Sebastian as well, with glory in all of her glory. Great practice this. Just a tip for the arm here. In the poster, the underarm is barely visible, but just that little stripe here helps to sell the perspective. And in yours, the upper arm, lower arm, and hand are all in one direction, and that's the most difficult perspective to get away with. So when in doubt, just use some angles, which is way easier to get depth in your art. But yeah, keep going, getting better one drawing at a time. Just check out these perfect feet. Then Kanya with a nice sketch. Really solid lines on the hands and shoes, super good. But because they're so solid, it makes the face feel a bit underwhelming. Probably because the lines there are thinner. So let me just trace that a bit, see if it would look a bit more balanced. Yeah, except for the nose, maybe not. Okay, last but not least, Christopher's Misty Night. Wow, very cool. Sticking close to the reference, which means perfect layout, good aging effects. Awesome anatomy. Had to do some Misty Night research. Little hole in my comic book knowledge. But yeah, love that shiny outfit. That crisp lampshade. Shadow under the hand of the book. Eating some Pocky sticks. Cut print off to the presses. Alright, thank you guys. Another challenge under the belt. If you want to join in, check the link in the description. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video and catch you in the next one.